evening, all you awesome people out there. My name is Scott Churchson, alongside Mr. Ryan O'Regan, Davion Boosie, and of course, Mr. Robert Leckington. And welcome to Tales from the Film Set on Zingo TV, channel 249, 250, Spanglish World Network. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android devices. When you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Both apps are free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. I think I got all of it on that one. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Like I said, I've already given the quartet of the four of us here. Welcome to Tales from the Film Set. We're going to be breaking down the stupidity of the film industry, stupidity of the things I've seen. Today, we are also going to be talking a little bit about Multiverse of Madness, the new trailer. The Illuminati is real. The Illuminati is real. I need to get, the tinfoil. Stars and daughters. Yes. And then also in a little bit of a tone shift, on a very special episode of Tales from the Film Set, if you want to go back to like the 80s and 90s here, we will be talking, and this is a serious topic, we will be discussing Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, and myself as a victim of male domestic violence, most of which was dismissed and usually universally laughed at. My reaction to this and what this is doing to me now. But before we get to that, we're talking some cool stuff first. So, gentlemen, how you doing?
You ready for it?
Yes, sir.
Fantastically well.
You're good, fantastic. Hey, bloody good ass.
I'm sorry. Did I miss something? Are we supposed to be doing like voices?
Yes, why not? Yeah.
Why not?
You know, listen, Rob is doing a phenomenal impersonation of Marcel Marceau. So you know what? He's got that nailed.
That's a generation gap jump. Oh,
I know. Yeah, kids aren't going to get that right. It's like Marcel. Who?
The funny thing is, the most I've ever seen of Marcel Marceau was the one time he did talk.
Silent movie?
Yes.
A Mel Brooks, an often forgotten Mel Brooks movie, which he decided to do as a silent film. And the only person to say anything in it was the famous mime Marcel Marceau, who just simply said the one word, no.
It hit hard.
Yeah, it did. Very, very effective. He nailed his lines perfectly on that. His line. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit more Multiverse of Madness, because that is now, I think, about 10 days away, give or take?
Yeah, a little over a week. Yeah. I've got my ticket for Thursday. I'm good.
Nice.
I got my ticket for Thursday and Saturday. Ticket for Thursday and Saturday.
Double dipping good, sir. Wow.
God,
only reason. No. The only reason I did this, I was kind of forced to do it Saturday.
Oh, someone twisted your arm to go see Multiverse of Madness for a second time?
Yeah, in a sense where it's a date.
I was going to say that's what I would have guessed. Do they know you're seeing it Thursday though?
No, I never told them.
And
they don't know about the show, so it's all good.
Okay,
you're on a date.
Really? You're going on a date with someone who doesn't even tell them about the show? Now I feel offended.
No.
Why you always
I don't know where this is going, but all right. But yeah. Like, as you know, in this case here, I understand completely. I have had dates like that before. It's like, have you seen? My parents did that. There was like way back in the 60s, there was a James Bond movie that was big at the box office. And on their first date, they lied to each other. Did you see this movie? No. Did you? No. Okay, let's go. They both already seen it. So my parents, their relationship started on a lie.
Here's the thing, though. I would never necessarily consider, if I was to go ahead and date somebody that was heavy into the MCU, into Marvel and all that, that'd be great. I just don't necessarily see a movie like that being a date movie, only because you want to pay attention to so much that's on the screen. Like, why even bother bringing a date?
Is it a first date?
Yes.
Okay, first date is passable. I think it's not a makeout date. You're not there yet.
No.
Well, I'm not saying it had to be a makeout date, but certainly you want to be able to have some sort of emotional and embrace or connection.
Probably do that before or after the movie.
Oh, dude, confidence here, confidence.
Wow.
I'm loving it.
Right. So since you all already seen the movie, then you can use the second time to focus more on her and bother her time watching the movie.
Exactly. And basically at the same time, you could also be like, listen, I'm here for you. I can see this movie anytime. But hang on,
I did.
That's special. And meanwhile, you're like, oh, wait, hang on. Check this out. In 5 seconds, a cool thing's going to happen. Oh, crap.
I'm very quiet. When I go to the movie theaters and somebody's watching it with me and they never seen it, I'm very quiet.
Okay. So he just acts surprised, yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of curiosity with this. The Illuminati is real. Supposedly, there's some talk that, did we hear Patrick Stewart? Did we not hear Patrick Stewart? But I want to get your thoughts a little bit on this, whether or not this is going to live up to the hype. There was rumors that this movie did 6-day-a-week reshoots, which is easily millions to pushing probably tens of millions of dollars with the amount of overtime you got to pay crew on, a Marvel movie, which is already big budget to begin with. Do you think this is going to live up to the hype, or do you think that they're going to be disappointed?
It's hard to say. I mean, considering how much they're really cramming in here, you always run the risk of too much of a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have to wonder if maybe they're just pounding in too many different variables and too many different guest appearances. Even though it's supposed to be in the multiverse, obviously there's always going to be different variations. We've already seen different variations of Doctor Strange himself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it necessarily warrants that much work, especially considering while this is coming out in May, you do have another Marvel movie coming out 2 months later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a really big question as to whether or not this thing needs to have legs in order to go all the way up to that point, and in order to make back its money. Considering you're saying it's already about 200 million, which means it's got to clear about a good 400 million just to start gaining anything. It seems like a bit of a risk, but considering how much workup there has been since the last Marvel movie to this one, which I guess you would technically count Spider-Man, even though it is Sony, and how much weight the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus has been doing in order to help prepare for this, going all the way back to WandaVision, this does feel like it's going to have a nice little crescendo of everything coming together.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering what you're hearing now isn't even so much about whether the movie's any good or not. I don't know if anyone's actually seen anything from when the embargo goes up. Do you know when the embargo goes up? Is it going to be next Monday or what?
I don't actually know that.
It's supposed to be this week.
It's supposed to be this week? I'm guessing Thursday, Friday? Because
remember, whenever they do red carpet or something like a private screening, it's always the week before the movie comes out.
Right, but I haven't seen anything yet, and considering most people are going to be able to go ahead and see this on Thursday before Friday comes around, you'd like to think it's going to be happening either tomorrow or Thursday.
And here's the kicker: it falls under Cinco de Mayo.
So, okay, then that means I'll have a margarita before and after, but
do you really want it? Because I agree with you on that, right? Thinking about it, this is a sequel to a sequel to a sequel.
Even though it should have just been a sequel.
With also one of your main characters being a character who got a spin-off of their own.
Correct.
Wanda Maximoff.
Correct. So it's
and you're also introducing new characters too, like America Chavez. May not get as much weight directed to them as you would hope.
Well, it varies because it depends on the execution. Is this going to be the end of the multiverse, or this is just the beginning? Because once this is over, we have to worry about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania.
Plus there's also questions of whether or not the multiverse is going to play into Thor: Love and Thunder with the whole Jane Foster thing. We still don't know what the ripple effect is going to be in all this.
Facts.
So,
and the same thing as Black Panther. We don't know what's the ripple effect with that either. Is it going to be his sister taking the mantle, or is it somebody else, or are they just going to replace the actor in general?
I think the sister takes over. It's the way Disney Marvel has been working with things.
Yeah, and then not only that,
Hawkeye, for example,
because that's what I was thinking. Just the way they were saying, behind the scenes, that they want her to come back. She was talking about, they were telling her to shut up on certain things, and she got injured, and it was a whole heap of things, and they was making sure she comes back. Even the protest against her being in the movie was that serious, to the point where they was nope, she stays, and they stand their ground. And after that, all of us shut up.
So, the only thing I can say is that as far as everything's all considered, it seems like overcompensation. mostly because when you look at last year, when you look at what they were trying to do with Black Widow and Shang-Chi and Eternals, and how middling those returns were, even though they were still pretty good, they were still middling by Disney Marvel standards. The minute No Way Home burst out onto the scene, that's when you started to see a lot more kick up in what they were doing with Doctor Strange. Not so much Thor: Love and Thunder, not so much any other production, just that one. So I feel like they might be just throwing way too much at the wall. But again, we'll have to wait and see if there's like, an overflow of Marvel, because people have already considered that there might be like reaching that plateau of Marvel appreciation where it's just like, okay, just it's too much. It's too much. That's why I'm actually glad that what they've been doing with Disney Plus, and they've been showcasing more of these newer characters, trying to spread themselves away from the MCU a little bit to show that there are other directions, there are other things that can be going on. It's not just one big through line.
Yeah. Doctor Strange 2, the Space Jam 2 of the MCU.
No. Right, no.
If Grape Ape shows up in this thing, I swear to God.
Oh, jeez. Rick and Morty, Iron Giant.
Well, I mean, considering all the different Disney property, if this thing turns into Kingdom Hearts, where we get like, a Star Wars clip where it's like Moon Knight becomes Poe Dameron or something. I don't know, man. It's just,
there is the trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. I gotta wonder how much they're going to try and put Marvel into it. I gotta hope.
Oh, they're definitely doing it. They're so.
No, they can't. No,
they've already stretched it too much with Kingdom Hearts 3 when you added like Big Hero 6 and the rest. Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game of all time because it had just enough in there to appreciate it. But then you start oversaturating. If Kingdom Hearts 4 starts including every Disney-esque property, I think the fans weren't even warm on Kingdom Hearts 3 anyway.
No,
I want to ask Rob about this because Rob, he's pretty much he's our base when it comes to like people that don't care about the MCU. So, Rob, when you see a movie that's like getting this much hype and getting this much talked about, does this interest you in any way as a layperson to go ahead and check it out just for the sheer cinematic thrill of it? Or is it just like so much stuff going on that you don't have any indication of that's like, I don't even want to bother?
I'm a DC guy.
No.
You have said that in the past.
We have this war happening. No.
Yeah, no, I'd see the film. But I'd see it in my own time. I wouldn't necessarily go right out the very first day and be like,
okay,
hey, I've got my ticket.
No.
Hey,
just make fun of the two of them. I think you're like, hey, you got your ticket.
I'm just going the one time. I'm not like lying and doing it for a dating second time.
I know.
Shut up, Ryan.
Yeah. By the way, what's your name?
Huh?
What's your name?
We're not going to speak of that.
Oh, it's Voldemort. VOLD.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
But so you'll watch it, but you're not as hyped to say the rest of us are. If you want to see it, you'll just see it passingly.
Mm-hmm. It's fair.
He got that. Oh Lord, he got that look like I care. I don't care. I just want my DC. Screw Marvel.
It's like I just want my Shazam
I have some favorite Marvel, characters,
Okay.
but mine. I'm more of a Batman, Superman kind of guy. So that's me.
So, who's your favorite out of the Bat family?
What's that?
Who's the favorite out of the Bat family?
Oh,
I had to ask.
Scarecrow. I think Scarecrow's cool. I like the bad guys.
Complex. I like it.
So yeah,
I could see you being Scarecrow.
And they almost had Scarecrow in the Schumacher. If Schumacher did a third Batman movie, which obviously never happened, Scarecrow is going to be your main villain.
Nice.
I mean, for all you know, Scarecrow's already active, considering the fears everyone has of the Flash, and whether or not that movie's ever going to happen.
No, I think it's going to happen, but it's just they're probably going to basically do a little bit of recasting. It's already there. It's already indicated.
That's the trippy rope there, because that's going to be a lot of money for recasting and reshoots.
Because you know who they want. Like, all the fans are asking for him. So it's not like
Ezra or Grant Gustin?
I'm saying Grant.
No. look, Grant Gustin is great for the TV show, but to go
But
ahead
we'll
and
see. But the thing about it is just we'll see. Like we don't know what the executives are doing behind the scenes. So if they add him, we don't know how he'll do on the big screen. He may do phenomenal on the big screen. Maybe it's just the way WB's writing the stuff. So my own opinion, and this is my opinion, he's probably a phenomenal actor on a low key and probably be a better representation than the guy that we have currently.
Well, I mean, if you saw what
possibility,
happened with
although
Fantastic Beasts,
I wouldn't say the numbers are necessarily there. That's the issue. I mean, especially when you're looking at the Warner Brothers shakeup that's going on right now with the Discovery partnership and all the brass being changed out. It's like, obviously they'll be making some changes, whether it be to DC, whether it be to Wizarding World. They're going to be doing some things. So there may also be some cost-cutting measures too. They may not necessarily feel it's in the right mind to go ahead and spend more money into a movie that hasn't even been released yet. The great movie pundit John Campea, he actually brought this up during his show. That the point where they actually announced that the Flash movie was going to happen was around the same time that the Flash television series had started. Here we are now, like season 7, season 8 of the television show has gone on. This movie has not yet been released. This thing is moving slower than any Flash villain once he goes into Speed Force, right? This thing is in the mud. It is in the muck and mire. It is not moving. It is frozen.
But here's the question though, on the DC side of it, which movie ran slower? The Flash movie or Catwoman?
Which Catwoman?
The Catwoman movie was actually Michelle Pfeiffer after Batman Returns was supposed to be Catwoman, and that was 1991 or 2, I think.
1995, I think.
No, that was Batman Forever. The one before that was Returns. So from Batman Returns in like 91 or 92, they wanted to do a Catwoman movie, and they waited until like 2004. So my question is, which one has waited longer? This is the Flash now.
Well, considering we got a Catwoman movie in any sense of the word, and we still have yet to have a Flash movie. I mean, not to say I want like another Cat movie. It would be nice to see maybe something with Zoe Kravitz as a solo, but it's just one of those things where it's like Ezra is not doing anything for himself or for this franchise or for the other franchise that he's in. Basically, Ezra and Warner Brothers
Fantastic Beasts is killing itself financially.
They need to stop having dates. No more movie dates for them too. All right.
But sorry, yeah, I mean, Fantastic Beasts 3. I don't think anybody's going to see that because honestly, nobody cares. It doesn't have a lick of the magic that it feels like the Hobbit version of Lord of the Rings. You know,
but again, that's why I'm talking about like anticipation with movies. Like the hype train was so heavy, you know, that they had like the Harry Potter anniversary stuff just in like the last few months where they were showing stuff on HBO Max, and they had the cast reunion of the original movies, all this sort of stuff that was leading up to the next Fantastic Beasts movie, and it was still not pleasing even for fans.
They had a Harry Potter game show.
People in there.
There was like a 4-part Harry Potter game show with like Dame Helen Mirren literally emceeing the event. It was terrible. It really was kind of crap. But the fact that it's that big, dude, we watched it. It was like, oh my God, this is bad. But it was still one of those things that it was a great draw because Harry Potter is. You know, Fantastic Beasts, nobody cares. There's no magic behind it. Peter Jackson said something I read the other day. He said when they did Lord of the Rings, he had 3.5 years of pre-production. Before they had day one on set, he had 3.5 years to prepare for this. When they did the Hobbit movies, he said I had 0. I just had to go. And that's the big difference between both films. And that's kind of the same thing I'm seeing right now with Harry Potter versus Fantastic Beasts, because it is very similar. You got one storied franchise that people love, and you got a prequel that's just, it's there, you know.
It was there for prequels.
It's got Jack McCoy's daughter in it, you know.
But
But,
that's the kind of stuff that makes me hesitant about Doctor Strange too. I mean, if you can see what something like that, which let's face it, the Wizarding World has as feverish a fan base as anything Marvel or DC does. And if that movie can't work, if that whole franchise can't work, imagine what something like Doctor Strange is going to end up being. I still have the highest hopes, but I at this point, there's just been so much Marvel. It's like I would not be surprised if they really started to trip and falter.
Probably. Dave?
I will say this. If this movie performed in the same capacity as No Way Home, Marvel, you have did it again. You have did it again. I'm telling you, you did it again. I'm looking at the camera. You did it again.
Yes, but
I don't
if
think
it
they
does
will.
do as well as No Way Home and does the same kind of numbers and everything, I almost fear for the rest of the MCU because this will almost cement the idea that, oh, Marvel movies have to be like this now. Whereas, say, like Phase 1 and Phase 2, you were able to get a lot more variety in the different kinds of movies that were being made and put into the MCU. But now, if everything has to be a cameo-laden, multiversal cluster F,
But the
it's
thing
going
about
to
it,
make the films boring.
but the thing
It's
about
going
it,
to be, it's like wrestling. Like you could either have like the spot fest of AEW, which is what the Marvel movies are with No Way Home, or what you're getting possibly with Doctor Strange, or you could have some good storytelling and you can have some compelling characters and you can just keep it simple, like everybody else except WWE.
okay, I was about to say, like, if you
No,
compare
no,
it to
no, no, no.
I
I
was
know
about
you.
to
No,
look at you like,
I know better. I know better.
okay, but like I said, everything is a gamble. We hoping that this film does extremely well. From what I heard about the film, a little detail, they said it almost had to been pushed to a rated R level. Almost.
Rated R?
Yeah, it almost been pushed to a rated R. They had to dumb it down. That was the purpose of the reshoots.
See, I almost would have preferred that they went rated R.
No, but the thing about
galvanize the audience, get us ready for when they actually do Deadpool or Blade or any of the things that are going to warrant a rated R, like Moon Knight. That easily could have been rated R.
But you know what? You're dealing with Disney. Disney is not comfortable enough to actually push the rated R issue. The only, like, look at Internals. They had that little mini sex scene.
Yeah, it was mini.
Yeah, but it was enough to be PG-13. It wasn't like full on rated R. So it's like they don't want to push it. So just give them some time.
Well, I'm sorry. We need more sex in the MCU. But
I'm done with you, bro.
This isn't your daddy's MCU. This is the newfangled stuff, the 2022 version.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, if they do bring in X-Men and they bring in a Logan or a Jean Grey or a Rogue or any of that, you gotta amp up the sex appeal.
No, we're not.
I don't know. Jean Grey was kind of hot, and so was Rogue in like the 1990s version.
Yeah,
Rogue not so much. Rogue was looked at as like a child.
No,
I prefer Rogue.
If we bring in like especially now that we have a Captain Marvel, if we bring in a Rogue that goes ahead and steals the powers of Captain Marvel as they've done in the comics, and we get that Rogue with the big hair and the leather jacket, you gotta pump it up to like Southern Belle style. None of this wayfish wanderer who gets like uses Logan as a father figure. Because that was just creepy a little bit. I'm not going to say anything about the original X-Men movie, but that was just a little bit odd of them to go in that direction.
Well, she replaced Jubilee in that movie, essentially.
Yeah.
That movie's like 20 plus years old now, too. Ooh.
Oh, God.
I know, dude. I know. The original, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I think comes out is like 20 years old this year. Men in Black 1 is 25 this year, and so is Titanic.
Dang, and Will ain't going to get the recognition for it.
Dude.
Shot
and
fired.
like Men in Black or Titanic, I wish I could forget or just go down with the ship.
No, Titanic never existed. Okay, so anyway.
Yeah, about those Mets. How's those Mets doing lately?
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on. What do you got against Titanic? Mr. I'm taking someone on a date to the movies to see Doctor Strange 2.
Let me tell you something about
Titanic
me.
was like the ultimate date movie.
Let me tell you something. My taste in movies has nothing to do with this conversation. So let's continue what we were doing.
All right, fine.
I'm waiting.
No.
Wait, are we doing the Shaq and what's his name? What you would call it role? What's his name? Shaquille O'Neal. What's his name? Charles Barkley.
Oh yeah, okay.
Going at each other's neck. Huh?
Scott, you're the sports person. Who's Shaq and who's Barkley in this?
Honestly, Ryan is just terrible. It's just terrible. By the way, the Sports Den, we went off on the whole Ben Simmons thing, which I don't know if basically you guys, but yeah. Check that out, by the way, if you want to hear what Brandon had to say as far as Ben Simmons goes. He started with the words, it's borderline criminal. Anyway, this is Tales from the Film Set, not Tales from the Sports Den. So
exactly.
Which you can also find on this channel, but still.
You can, yes. All right. Tone shift. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I've been going back and forth for a little while about whether or not I wanted to talk about this. I don't usually, as a rule for this show, like to go into the dark and the negative. I've always tried to cater this show to be something a little bit more on the escapism side of it. And that's always been the way that I've tried to roll with things. But I want to talk a little bit right now about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial that's happening, the second trial. As some of you know, and I talked to you guys a little bit about this, I think privately at some point or another, I am myself a victim of domestic violence. My first wife, every 6 to 8 weeks, would do things like try to push me down a flight of stairs, beat me to injuries that would take 3+ weeks to heal, psychologically, verbally assault me, and in many cases, would put me into a position where eating more than 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day would get me ripped on. I developed an eating disorder on that, and I actually learned how to throw up without having to use my finger. In all of that and all the situations that I had, one of the biggest problems with all of it was the fact that as a guy, I would usually get made fun of for it. I am well aware of the fact that in this society, 1 out of 4 women experience domestic violence. I am not taken away from that at all. But from what I found out, 1 out of 7 men do too. And I apologize in advance. I don't know what the fluid numbers are as far as basically the domestic violence and that. I never got those numbers, and I apologize for that. But for the years that have followed on this, I have usually been mocked, ridiculed, and belittled for what I went through. Most people would look at it and be like, she's 5'4", you're 5'10", pushing 5'11". She can't do anything to you, and in your case specifically, if you try to actually, no one will believe you. And one of the things that was a big problem with all of this is the injuries would happen every 6 to 8 weeks. Like I said, the first time she tried to push me down a flight of stairs and cut me across the side of the face. There were incidences where, for example, I got separated at the mall and she punched me literally in the mall in full view of people just because of the fact we got separated. I was separated from friends and family. I was in a position where I was never allowed to go out unless she was there. And I was oftentimes told how fat, stupid, ugly, useless, moronic, and retarded I was, and how no one in my life will ever love me because basically she can barely do it herself. Any person who's been through domestic violence knows these stories. They've been down these roads. They've heard this. What I'm saying is the same stuff that everybody has heard at one point or another. The difference that exists here is that in the years that followed, I would often get dismissed because I'm a guy. I remember one time, actually, a couple years ago, I was on when Mel Robbins had her own TV show. I was actually on the Mel Robbins show to talk about this. And it was me and this other guy, a really cool guy. I wish I remember what, a kid in contact with him. But it was funny because the name of the episode was Secrets Men Keep. And the audience was like, ooh, Secrets Men Keep. And today we're talking about male domestic violence. Yeah. And the energy level from the audience went from here down to right down to here because everybody was just like, oh, crap, I got free tickets for this one. And pictures were included, police reports, all this kind of stuff. And it was funny because nobody really cared. And nobody really actually gave a crap about it. And in this case here, in the years that followed, I've been mocked for it. When that episode actually aired, I was on set and I was talking to a guy. And I talked about the fact that I went through all this, and my new wife is a lot better. Robin, she's awesome, and his response was, why did she hit harder? And I'm like, oh my God, so this is the kind of stuff that I've been dealing with for years until now, because now with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial happening, people are looking at what I went through with a new experience. Because if I was a woman, this would have been a Lifetime TV special. But because I was a guy, I was laughed at. The way I've always said it is that domestic violence against women ends up on Law and Order. Domestic violence against guys ends up on Comedy Central. And now the difference, because everything that actually is happening with Amber Heard and all this stuff is coming out and everything like that, people are reaching out to me and they're like, dude, I never knew. I never realized. And my case was just a very, very stereotypical run-of-the-mill case where, it's the same kind of mental attitude. It's the same sort of, like I said, belligerence, the attitude of, if you tell anybody about this, I will lie to the cops and say you tried to rape me, because no one's going to believe a man, and they will have you arrested and throw you in jail. This I went through. This is what dudes go through in this case here. And again, I'm not dismissing domestic violence against women at all. But the big difference is the fact that what I went through for all these years, nobody cared about. But now, suddenly people do, because you have one of the biggest names in the industry, and you're hearing testimony straight up. And I'm looking at that and be like, yep, went through that. And it's funny, a lot of the people that I talk to that have been through stuff like this, they're like, yeah, we all see similarities to it. So it's funny because now, after all these years, people are looking at me and being like, so what you went through really kind of sucked, didn't it? I'm like, yeah, it kind of did. And now it's a weird feeling. So I'm not going to basically go too much longer in something like this. Like I said, at this point, my life is world better. Robin's awesome. I got a cat with 3 working legs named Scully, and all of this stuff is pretty much rear view mirror. But it's a fearful situation that a lot of people on every side of the gender fence go through. And for me, I finally feel like I'm getting respect after all these years, instead of just being made fun of, laughed at, and frankly ostracized because someone smaller would do things like smash things into my face when I ate the last diet ice cream sandwich. Anyway, cool. That's it. I'm off my soapbox. How you guys doing?
Y'all can go first.
Like I said, yeah, you did tell me the story and explain to me what happened. Like I get the whole frustration and the aggravation and the stuff that you've gone through, because certain people don't look at it as, oh, you're a guy or you're the victim in the situation. They look at it more as, oh, the statistic or the stereotype, the whole, you're a man, you can take it. And that's nothing. Like I explained to you about the episode, which I never told my mom about, when I was at Comic-Con a couple of years back, and I was heading back home, and this drunk lady just constantly was trying to assault me. And I did call 911. They probably at first was like, oh, this guy, whatever. So I said, I got the police on the line. She's walking away, I don't know her. So we get to a corner where there is 2 police officers. The female police officer, I guess she went by what the woman said and said, stay away from her, back off. I'm like, but I'm on the phone with the police. I'm like, but she's the one that assaulted me. I don't know her. Didn't even give me a chance to open my mouth. Just said, go about your business or I'll lock you up. The funny thing about it was, I didn't realize the operator was on the line. The dispatcher. I did not realize it until I looked. I was like, oh, hello. They was like, yes, we heard everything. And they said, we are going to make that get that information to the sergeant as soon as possible. That was not right. And I was like, wow, like, all because I didn't even realize the phone was, I thought the phone hung up.
Subterfuge is the greatest thing to work against.
Lucky vindication.
Yeah.
And that's, and like I said, it's taken differently. So basically, when I would tell people stories about the fact that I used to sleep in my car in the middle of winter, 15 degrees, outside, I'm sleeping in my car in this. And I would have situations where you sit there in, you're spending 5 minutes praying to God that they're not going to be angry tonight. That's going to be a calm evening. You are in such a micromanagement mode that you are afraid to pick up a pen because basically they may not want you to pick up that pen, and you may hear it. And every 6 to 8 weeks, it would be something where the anger would grow and grow and grow. And not me, but just like life, bad day at work, traffic, maybe somebody was rude to them, just whatever it was. And then, the anger and the hostility and the insults and the derision would come out, about how fat, stupid, ugly, and useless, and moronic you are. And and this would go on sometimes for like an hour, even like 3 or 4 hours. I had a couple of cases there. And then eventually at some point, bam, it would get violent, it would get angry, and the beatings would happen. And like I said, I had cases where I had injuries that took 3 weeks to heal. And the sucky part about that is these injuries happened in the middle of summer in 90-degree temperatures. So I had to sit there in long sleeve shirts to cover massive bruises because you don't want the world to know what you're dealing with. You don't want the world to see, you don't want to acknowledge it. And it's an embarrassing situation, regardless of, again, man, woman, gender fluid, doesn't matter. It's embarrassing as hell to acknowledge this is happening to you, and that's the hardest part with this. And that's why a lot of people are like, why didn't you say something? Because you don't want the world to know, because the world's going to view you differently for it.
Exactly.
And for me, it was funny because eventually I got thrown out of the house for the last time. And I went to the cop. I talked to my parents. I'm like, what do I do? They're like, go to the cops and the police can bring you back to the house so you can get your stuff. Because a lot of times I would leave the house and wonder if she would just break all of my things. So I had basically did the police report, went back with the cops. One cop kept her at bay, and then the other cop let me get all my stuff. And I stayed with my parents. And it was weird because for the first time in years, I felt safe. And I was like, oh my God, it was such a relief and such an amazing feeling to not be afraid anymore. And anybody who's gone through this knows that feeling, knows what that's like, knows that you develop the ability to see out of your peripherals because you can see everything that's going on over here on every side because you don't know what can be used to hit you. And that's the bitch of it. So. Yeah.
By the way, does anyone else hear that guitar riff?
I was just going to say there's an echo of some sort going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say it gave your speech a lot of background mood music, but
I was going to say it did the drama, but no, but it was funny because like I said, for a lot of years I would get people being like it wasn't that bad, they'd laugh at me, they make fun of me, or like that said that one guy is like, oh, you're remarried, oh, she's better, does she hit you harder? And I'm just like, oh my God.
And
well, just to bring it back into the world of film and television here. I think one thing that really needs to be pointed out is that because of the Depp Heard case and because of your situation, something needs to be made clear. Even though you and they are people that are in the industry and do acting for a living, there has been just that overall mentality by people that are outside of the industry that will look at you and look at people that do that sort of work and think, oh, they're just being dramatic. Oh, and things are just, you're being a little hyperbolic with what you're saying.
Right.
You're just overplaying it. You're acting, you're trying to, drudge up the emotion rather than just being real about it. And so people don't necessarily take what you're saying at face value. They think that you're doing it up. The thing is, regardless of who the person is, whether it's male or female, regardless of the industry that they're in, whether it's acting or not, it's real when it happens. Take it for what it is.
Right.
Don't try to judge the person based on what their occupation is. Don't try to judge the person based upon their gender or who the other person is, what their size qualifications are. Just take it for what it is. Believe the person when they're coming at you with something of that serious in nature.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, my biggest thing. Now, the ironic thing on this is I actually lost the court case. I had to pay her a 5-figure settlement that took me 6.5 years to pay off. And yeah, that was the weird, quirky thing of this. And honestly, I wasn't actually even that angry about it. I accepted it. I mean, it was, a car. It was basically a new car, but it was something where the idea and the belief that you're safe and not afraid anymore. And she did show up at my parents' house, and and I remember one time I knew I had a feeling she was going to show up, and I told my parents ahead of time. My father, by the way, is a former military cop, so he can handle his own as he needs to. But I said, basically, I suspect this is going to happen. It's going to happen between this time and this time. And lo and behold, she did. And my father told my mother, she's like, they were sitting on the porch. She's like, get in the house. It's like, get in the house now, and she dropped off a gift, all this kind of stuff that I like. And that's a very normal thing after a physical abuse incident. They have what they call the honeymoon phase, where they're very nice, they're sweet, they buy you gifts because it's the good time. They might actually feel bad about what happened, and I think they probably do. If you notice, I have not actually mentioned her name at all. I mentioned my current wife, Robin. Robin's awesome. I'm not saying anything about that.
Oh yeah, no, Robin's good people.
But I have always been in the attitude of, educate, don't punish. And something happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was in the same vein where it's like I could punish them, but I'm like, no, let's just teach, educate, mentor. And I don't really have hostility, believe it or not, towards my ex-wife. I think it's one of those things that she had some challenges that she had to work through. Did she handle them poorly? Oh, hell yeah, 100%. But I'm not like, I was more annoyed for a long time with how people treated it and how people looked at the guy who fought in Dark Knight Rises and did all these kind of things, and being like, she's 5'4". Yeah. And a 5'4" person with an object can still hurt like hell, Yeah. And finally, after all these years, people are reaching out to me and they're like, I guess it does really happen to guys too. And I'm like, yeah, no, I've been trying to I almost swore on air. I'm getting darn close to that. Not supposed to swear on air, but I was like, yeah, it is always that, it's always been there. It's always been this kind of thing. Now people are just consciously aware of it. How long that lasts remains to be seen. But for now, I'm actually kind of appreciating the fact that people are like, yeah, it did kind of suck.
Rob, any insight?
Yeah.
I'm just listening. I'm here.
Well, that's what people need, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That they need that support system. They need people to hear and to get it, because like I was saying, a lot of people will go ahead and listen to a guy say that sort of stuff and be like, well, he's an actor. He's just playing to the camera. He's playing up the story. And I think that's what a lot of people were thinking with Johnny Depp, because when you see him on the stand, he's pretty just like very cool and casual. The people that are questioning him is like, they're just repeating stuff over and over. And he's just like, yeah, that's what we agree to. He's just trying to be very kosher about it. He's not necessarily trying to make everyone laugh or try to be Captain Jack Sparrow or brave and bold about it or anything like that. He's just keeping it at face value. And it's probably a Johnny Depp that you probably never really seen before. But you have to in this instance.
Talking about this stuff is good. Sorry,
I said the shy, quiet individual who's just in the realization, like, look, I'm here, but I'm not here. And I think that's that mentality. Like, I'm not the actor that y'all know. This is me as a human being. Look, this is why I'm doing this. But this is a toll. Like, I do love the fact that y'all I got support, but at the same time, this has to be addressed.
And the thing is, in the trial, you've also heard some of the things that he's said towards Amber Heard, and while some of them may be, rather off-putting.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not.
To wonder, is it because of the abuse that he went through? You can't say that he's just a monster because he said those things, because when you start hearing about the things that are done to him, it's also retroactive. You can easily say that a lot of the stuff is more reactionary than, purposeful.
Right.
And people don't think that that he can be like that he's doing it based off of whatever she's done to him. They're not seeing it from both sides.
In my case, I went inward. I didn't lash out because it's never been my personality. I've been a Zen Taoist for like almost 30 years now anyway. But it was also one of those things that when you get to the belief that you are what they tell you are, You know, and the verbal and the psychological is worse, I think, than the physical, because the physical heals, but the other stuff is more deeply embedded. You know, you start to believe that you are inferior, you know, and that you are stupid and ugly and no one will love you but them. And you go through this kind of thing. And I think once it gets into your head that way, it affects your daily life in every way. You know, I was a financial advisor at the time for like the middle and lower class. And I would go on client appointments knowing in the back of my mind, she's going to blow up my phone in about 5, 4, 3, 2, bam. If a client appointment went a little bit longer than an hour, and they did, sometimes an hour and 20, that phone would light up, you know, every 3 seconds, every 5 seconds. I had to put the phone in airplane mode because I would get like 10, 15, 20 messages. And it is really hard to be in any profession when you've got that going on all the time. And again, it doesn't matter the gender. It matters the psychological impact that has on you. And for me, I lost almost half of my agents because of the fact I was so afraid to piss her off. You know, I had 17 agents reporting to me. I dropped down to 9. After she left, I worked that number back up to 34. So you know, it's because you can focus differently when you're not living in unbridled, unmitigated, unquestioned fear. That's true for anybody, I think.
I would almost say you could probably see it in his career too. I mean, when you think about the timeline that he was with Amber Heard up to now, and you look at the roles he was taking, whether it was another Jack Sparrow or another role at the Mad Hatter or the Big Bad Wolf in Into the Woods or playing Whitey Ford, Johnny Depp himself has really become more of a character actor. And a lot of these roles have been roles that are pretty much escapist roles where you really just, you're not necessarily playing yourself doing these things. You're playing this whole other personality, this whole other character where you just, you do that. And that's your world. That's where you can focus on. That's where you can immerse yourself. And you don't necessarily have to think about things outside of the trailer.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
like,
and
it's
I mean-
just a matter. It's just a matter of, oh, sorry.
No, please. No, please.
Okay. No, it's just a matter of understanding the situation that both people are in, the victim and the victimizer. Because at the same time, psychologically, you got to find up on both people's minds of where they at. Like, even with you, Scott, you probably in that mindset where society is saying, I'm supposed to be this. But at the same time, you're dealing with someone that's abusive. And it's like, it's very hard. Like, it's hard for you to react at times. I'm going to be honest, because realistically, you have all options to react, but you chose not to. That's just like me. Like, throughout my life, I chose not to be the aggressor, chose not to be a fighter, all because the stereotypical aspects of being African American. Is that dangerous at times? Yes. But at the same time, I don't want people to think, oh, I'm just this angry, mad black man, but they're not knowing me of who I actually is or who I am as a person. So, and that's the same thing with you, and Johnny Depp and all that. Everybody has their own way of expressing and being a person. Some of us do think before we react. Then you have those that don't think before they react.
Yeah. And I think in some cases, when you have someone like this, they can't control what they do, which is why they have the honeymoon phase afterwards, because they feel remorse. You know. But all right, I think we probably should wrap this up. I think we've spent like a half an hour on this at this point, and you know, maybe 25 minutes, and we have to basically talk about something a little more positive. Unless you guys had any final thoughts, I figure let's round out the last 5 minutes with something fun, easygoing, you know, end on a high note.
Bring on the fun and easygoing. Although I would say, if anybody has those issues and wants to reach out to somebody, I don't know if Scott knows of any outlets that people could turn to.
All the ones that are out there. If you guys want to talk to me too, I mean, listen, I've been down this road. I already mentioned the fact. I mean, I've been on national television talking about it too, you know, and I'm not afraid. I mean, I was nervous as heck right now. I'll tell you right now. I had 2 cups of wine beforehand. Like, it was like 1 proof wine. It was like nothing, but it was something I needed to do to settle the nerves, because it's still a little nerve wracking to talk about even years later. Right. And you know, I tried in my head to like prep for what I was going to say for all this and what I was going to do, but it all went right out the window come game time. and that happens a lot too. So, but our entire show is oftentimes based on, this is the game plan, and we never even get to it. We just go over here anyway.
But yeah, if you want to go ahead and wrap this up with something lighthearted, I'm all for that.
All right. So, but yeah, I want to give a quick shout out here. Do you want to give a shout out? You know what? Okay. I had a COVID test earlier today in Brooklyn.
I thought we said we're going to go lighthearted.
Oh, we will. No. It was one of the tests I had in Brooklyn. This is, the same basic area where like 2 weeks ago, someone literally opened my car door and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had the wrong car." Yeah, but I met a guy there who he spent the entire conversation talking about his apartment. Have you ever had one of those people where it's like, they view, they view every stranger as a potential audience to talk about themselves? Beyond the
in this business, yes. Everyone's a potential audience member to hear what you have to say and how you want to say it.
He spent 7.5 minutes talking about every nuance of his apartment that he was living in for the last 11 years.
Patrick Bateman?
Patrick Bateman? Dude, actually, let me ask you something. Screw the apartment conversation. I'll go back to later. Maybe. How many of those do you have?
109.
Nice.
You actually have it to the number. Wow.
Yep. 109 Funko Pops. Disney.
I've got like 20, and that's just because they're scattered all over. So
you have a first date coming. Does she know you have all the Funko Pops? Or is that like a date 3 or 4 conversation?
I'll make it a date 3 or 4 conversation.
Because that's one of those things that if they like Funko, that's okay. But you got to be real careful on that first, second, third date kind of thing to be like, is this, where is this going to go?
Well, especially if she happens to come over and then all of their little black beady eyes are staring at her the whole time.
And she's like, why are you? And you know what? And I'm trying to make it 10 because I'm trying to look for Ghostface.
Okay.
Oh, good. Let's cap it off with one of the horror people.
What is, with 2 minutes left, what is the coolest one you have in your entire collection?
You can't make a man make that kind of a decision. Look at all that.
I really got 2.
Okay. Bring them up.
The 2 are for Robert. I am a huge fan of this character, Red Hood.
Oh
yeah.
There you go.
And let me play him back.
Not many people are fans of Jason Todd.
Right here. Jason Todd is awesome.
All right.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if they were fans of him, he wouldn't have been killed by the Joker.
Yes.
But then he wouldn't become Red Hood.
That's it.
Facts.
It's
see, it's a tie between Jason Todd, Red Hood, and Leon S. Kennedy.
Okay.
From Resident Evil.
Yep.
Huh. Now that is interesting.
I wasn't expecting you to say that one, not after Red Hood.
Because Red Hood is like that symbol. Like I love this character. It's a lot of development. It's a lot of issues where there's that neglect aspect to the point that he's trying to get Batman / Bruce Wayne's attention. And he never fully got it.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it also helps that both of those people are hand-to-hand pistol whippers with cool jackets.
Right.
Basically, yeah. All right. So
not saying you have a type, but
nah. We got to wrap this up. But one of these days, I do have an entire list of like really weird casting notices. I have been wanting to do this show for a while to break down some of the weirdest, dumbest. Every time one comes in, I take a screenshot of it. I've got like 15 that are sitting on my phone right now of just like the dumbest, weirdest, most bizarre ones out there. And ironically enough, most of them are reality shows. So, man, that's not really that weird. That probably doesn't surprise a lot of you. Anyway, we got to wrap this up. We already got the 1 minute message like 49 seconds ago. Mr. Robert Leckington, thank you. Davion Boosie, thank you. Mr. Ryan O'Regan, thank you. Eduardo Harari, thank you for being producer. This is on Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250, Tales from the Film Set. So find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Tales from the Film Set. And And there's the fantastic shirt. Yeah. So,
I need
I still
one.
have the shirt.
I need one.
all right, we're gonna get you guys a shirt. We're gonna rent you guys a shirt. So we're gonna talk about that off camera. Until then, stay awesome.
Stay well.
Yes.